And we are live. Welcome back to the After Action Project. This is episode 111. Tonight we are joined by Mark McKay of RHINO Tactical Defense. We're going to be talking about how to start your own RHINO Tactical Defense business. Before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to our show sponsors, Locked In Grip. Visit lockedingrip.com. Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds, or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang onto your firearm in different weather conditions? Locked In Grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked In Grip Shooting Sports Chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit lockedingrip.com. That's lockedingrip.com to purchase your liquid shooting sports chalk now. And I don't know what the heck it is, Andy, but ever since I discovered that, or you introduced me to Locked In Grip, it's like I just can't seem to finish a range session without it. I'll typically get up there and I'll shoot a drill or two, and I'm like, man, why my hands are sweaty? Why am I nervous? Right? I've been talking and shooting in front of students for over 10 years, over a decade now. Why the heck am I all nervous? So I like to put a little dab of that on my hands to help kind of alleviate that issue while I'm shooting. And then the downside to that is then the only excuse I have for sucking is that I suck at shooting. So
right.
Locked In Grip, I love using it out there on the range. I love introducing our students to it because, again, that is one less thing that they have to worry about as they're trying to adjust the grip and keep it kind of locked in. The other show sponsor is the Range Buddy app. Visit rangebuddy.app. It's a collection of over 160 handgun shooting drills, all sorted by the required target type and filterable by the skills worked. There's a virtual instructor component on there. There's a Range Master instructor marketplace where you can find reputable instructors to train with either virtually or in person. Those are all vetted. They have instructor credentials beyond the basic NRA or USCCA instructor credentials. So the instructors on there are taking their safety seriously and their training seriously. There's a dry fire tool and tracker in there, a leaderboard for each of the drills, and a whole bunch more. So check that out at the Range Buddy app. But to get in tonight's episode, what everybody's kind of joining us for and tuning in is what Mark is here and Teresa are here to talk about, and that's the RHINO Tactical Business Model and how you can start your own RHINO Tactical business. So, Mark, introduce yourself to our listeners. Talk to us a little bit about what got you into the background or the firearms training industry, and we'll go from there.
Well, hi, everybody. Mark McKay. I'm president of RHINO Tactical Defense. It's a reality-based self-defense business company. I'm an instructor. I do travel around the country and offer different programs and seminars. People hire me to go to their site, corporations mostly, and go out and teach them whatever most of it we bank around hand-to-hand combat. But we do work on some industry-specific training. We work on active shooter. There's a bunch of different things that we like to do. We do offer a handgun training component, but here in Florida, they've done away with the need to actually have a permit. So it's still important to have the training. So the training still exists, but there's not as much of a demand because they did away with the little plastic cards. So I think that because of reciprocity, that's kind of a big deal. They still need to have that, but the public doesn't necessarily think these things through and see them through, but we still do offer that component. Beyond that, we offer corporate self-defense, we offer real estate safety, active shooter, teen and college safety, stuff for children. That's really something that they can handle. We're not going to try and tell you that your 6-year-old black belt is going to do anything against a fully grown man or something like that, a fully motivated male criminal. That's just not realistic. But what we do is give them options that can at least buy them the time. When it comes to self-defense, what we're looking for is people to be able to learn the skill sets that will buy them enough time to escape a potentially deadly situation. That's essentially what we're looking for. And I train in that. I go out and offer seminars in that. And then we also offer a business model for people to have a modest buy-in and then a monthly membership fee, and they can teach these for their own communities out of their own existing business, or they can be RHINO specific, or however they want to do that. Teresa Norris, who's with me tonight, is one of our newer members, and she is just knocking them dead in Washington State.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Teresa, talk to us a little bit about your background in the firearms training industry and what linked you up with Mark and the RHINO Tactical business model.
Yeah, so I have zero background in anything. I don't have any martial arts training, no firearm training, no law enforcement, nothing, no military background. I'm literally, I like to say I'm just a mom. The self-defense was something that I was interested in doing for myself, but I didn't have the time. I have 3 little ones at home, and I don't have the time to go devote to martial arts training. Plus, I wanted to walk into a building, take a class, and feel like I could protect myself right then and there. But there's nothing in my community that offers that. And I specifically got involved with Mark because I was looking for self-defense classes to train my little ones. And again, there was nothing like that out here in Washington State. So did some Google searching, wanted to just get certified to teach myself and my family initially, and then started talking to Mark about the opportunity that was there to train and bring this to my neighborhood and bring it to my community and empower my neighbors. And it just, I don't know how to describe it other than there was a pull. Like I was being pulled that I had to do this. And I'm so thankful that I did. It has been monumental. It's been so life-changing since I started. So really no background, just got into it because of passion.
That's interesting to hear. You know, Andy and I, we've told a little bit about our story, and neither one of us have a law enforcement or military background. Yet we found ourselves on what most folks would consider like the successful side of a firearms training business here in New Mexico. And I think part of that deal is kind of the passion, like you explained, but also the understanding and the drive that, you know, oftentimes in this industry, that lack of experience is perceived as a negative. So really, you know, Andy's taken probably, he's probably of the people that train on an annual basis, he's probably in the top 2% of folks. Like, hey, when can we do class? We got, you know, let's set our range dates for the next 2 months. And he's like, oh, I'm taking a Gabe White class or a Jedi class, or, you know, I'm going to be training with Tim Hare and all these other guys. So I want to talk a little bit about, Mark, how does RHINO Tactical Defense, how does that fit into the world of the NRA and the USCCA style programs? And what are you looking for as far as business owners in that regard?
Well, with regard to the handguns, you know, every state's got its own unique situations. So I got certified through the NRA to become a basic pistol instructor, and then we built a program around that certification, so I could offer a class and we could add it to the network so people could go get certified and offer our class as well. And it's stuck in with branding and, you know, the mission that we're on. But safety is a big thing. I am a soldier. I'm a veteran. Okay, so I love weapons. It's not my go-to. It's not what I want to use, but if I have to use it, I'm more than able. All right. So I think your most important weapon is right here. All right. So the work de-escalation and some of the non-lethal methods are very effective, and we want to start with that. But if I have to go with a weapon, I'm more than ready to do that because of what I've been trained to do. So what I wanted to do with the public was give them an opportunity to at least learn some of the basics, and it really came to play during quarantine, the COVID era. All right, so how many millions of people bought? I can't even remember the numbers anymore, but how many people bought guns for the first time during that period? It was some weird, like 70 million, or I don't know, some weird thing like that. These were people that were saying that, you know, they'd never own a gun, they'd never do it, and now they own them, and they don't know what the heck they're doing with them. That's the kind of thing that kept me up at night. Is, you know, my next door neighbor might have a gun, but they don't have the background or the knowledge to use it. Just because they got that little piece of plastic with their picture on it, doesn't mean they can handle themselves with that. So we put together a program that was more than the basics. Here in Florida, all you needed to do was be able to put a bullet in it, charge it, and shoot it. That's it. You didn't have to hit a target. You could fire it into a barrel, and you're done. But that doesn't really mean you know what you're doing. Then people would put their gun away. They don't need it forever, so they forget how did I leave that gun? Is there one in the chamber? The safety on? Are the things all the components in the same place? Is something across the house and the other? So people weren't practicing with them. They weren't getting their repetitions in. They just weren't doing what they needed to do to be successful if they had to employ this tool. And people give guns a lot of power that they don't really deserve. It's a tool. You have to learn how to use that tool. So we're really big on making sure you have the basics. And what happens if you lose that tool? It doesn't matter that you had, it's a beautiful Colt 1911 stainless steel with rosewood grips. It doesn't matter that you polish it every day. It doesn't matter that you memorize the serial number and you hang it under your pillow at night. If you drop that gun, anyone's that gun's daddy from that point. So people forget that just because you know what it is doesn't mean it's going to function for you unless you practice with it. So what happens if you lose it? Well, we would teach gun retention. We would teach the hand-to-hand component. So if you go to a courthouse here in Florida, you can't take your gun into the courthouse. You have to pack it in your car somewhere. They won't even let you have it in the building. So you're in a courtroom situation. And of course, events happen in courtrooms all the time. So you better be able to function without putting too much, working too hard on using that gun. I mean, there's certain things that you just got to be able to do. So we give several options. Not just gun, but yes, gun. But what else can we do? Everyday weapons. We do myth busting. We do a lot of different things that shows that there's a lot more to it than just I have a gun.
Teresa, I want to kick it over to you. What type of support and training have you received to take you from that zero level experience to course offerings? And let me stop that question. I'll ask a follow-up. So what type of support have you received, and how do you think that's helped you teach students and the end user?
I've had the more support than I ever thought that I would ever have, honestly. I kind of went into the business talking to Mark before I even, put down my initial payment. And I think we had like 3 phone conversations before that, just to make sure that I felt comfortable and that I felt like I can do this role without having any kind of background. So I felt like I had emotional support before I even started. But now getting into it, the network that we have and the leadership team is incredible. I can't say enough great things about them. They literally have sat me down and we've talked, and they've given me like, this is what you need to be doing every day, every week, every month. This is what you need to be doing. And I've been doing it, and I have been very successful in my business in such a short amount of time. Like, it is kind of incredible to me that, people say, oh, it works. It works. If you just do it, it works. And it really does. So there's so much support in all aspects. There's support in the growing of the business. There's support in, just emotionally helping you through the challenges, because, sometimes you get some challenging students and you don't know exactly how to deal with them. So there's support there. Support with doing the moves, because, I never did any type of martial arts or any training like this. So they break down really in depth how to do everything. And then, they're all just a phone call away. Everybody's just a phone call away, which is really nice. So you can sit down and talk to them and be like, hey, I'm having trouble doing this, or, I'm just not getting this. There's always somebody to talk to and somebody to walk you through it and just literally hold your hand through it, which makes it incredibly easy to. I thought I don't even know how many classes I've taught now. Lots and lots of classes. I'm probably in the hundreds of people that I've trained since I started at the beginning of the year. And my claim to fame is that one particular class they were interviewing me was a gentleman who was ex-SWAT for 30 years, a border patrol agent, and a Marine vet. And they left my class telling me that they felt empowered. So the amount of support that we get from the team is incredible. For me to make a difference on people who have that background, it's just, there's no words. There's so much support, so much support.
Awesome. Hey, Mark, so tell me how the program work. Is it a monthly fee due, or how does that process work when someone wants to join?
We have a modest buy-in. If you go to the website, there's a tab on the website that says Get RHINO Certified, and it explains what you get, everything that's included in the package. But there's a modest buy-in. It's just currently at $1,000. That in your first month will include all training and certification and all of the assets that you need to set up your business. All right. So my claim to fame with it is I help people set up their business. And we have a leadership team that handles other parts of it as well. I have a man, the VP of training. He is in Australia. He is an expert in hand-to-hand. And specifically, he likes to work with youth, children mostly. And he has a beautiful program. So he works with people on how to teach it. I teach them on how to promote it and market it. And we don't leave anyone hanging. I have a meeting every Wednesday morning. It's a virtual meeting. Everyone's invited. We record those. We log everything into school.com. You probably have heard of that at some point or another. But it's an online place where we can house all of our curricula. So people can go in there. If they didn't make the meeting, they can replay it whenever they want to. Everything's written out, every module for every program. We have 12 different programs, and that's growing all the time. So we're going to teach you when is the best time to market, how to market. We have a Smart Start 90-day action plan that you just follow in your first 90 days, write down the list, and your phone will start ringing because you'll have done everything by the numbers. We'll tie in with our global SEOs and the whole thing. So things start to happen quickly. We have a really good sales funnel system, because that's the part that most people have the struggle with. Is we've got a lot of very talented instructors, but sometimes they come up a little bit short on the business side of things. It's kind of like an actor who has an agent. There's the talent, and then there's the business, right? And people often think that just because I can teach, I should automatically go into this business. And nothing could be further from the truth. There's a lot of parts, nuances, things that people really didn't think about when they started their business. I don't know how many instructors I've met in a varied amount of industries that went, well, I could work the room, so I thought I was going to do great, but I didn't think about long-term lease agreements and CAM fees and insurance and all the things that you build out costs and all the things that you have to do to outfit a brick and mortar. So we help with all of that. You can also, we have a format where you can work from home and go do what we call travel and train, which people will call me on the phone and say, I want information about having an active shooter at my company. Where's your company? It can be anywhere. Okay, so in my proposal, I make sure that they know that I got to fly out there, so the pricing reflects expenses as well, and I go fly there, deliver the training, and go on from there. Hopefully, I'll turn them into an annual account. I like doing making that's perishable skills, so it's nice to have that regular flow of traffic. So it's really simple to do. You do the buy-in, then you have a small monthly membership fee to keep you connected with all of the RHINO resources, to include those virtual training meetings, to include just picking up the phone and dialing the corporate office and saying, hey, I have an issue, or how do I price this, or what do I do here? If it's not a business question and I can't answer it, I'll make sure you're with the right leadership team VP to see to it that you get the answers that you're looking for. It's not difficult, but there's some tricks to it, tips and tricks and knacks that you need to know, and then we help you connect with that.
Awesome. You definitely sound like you have the marketing and sales bit down, and somebody who, like I said, and like Jeremy said, trains often, oftentimes go to classes and we want to get better. Just for example, just shooting specifically, want to shoot better, want to gain that skill. And then we have to have the ability to test that skill. So I want to know a little bit more as far as in the training form, being a virtual self-defense style, beyond the de-escalation methods, which I think we want to get some more information on that too. How do we test these skills as an instructor? If I've signed up, I've done the 90-day fast track thing, how do I actually test my skill to know that what I'm teaching is beneficial?
Oh, good question. Thank you. The first part is your certification. All right. So someone signed on last night, and so I was on a Zoom call with him this morning, and he is in Texas, and he has a martial arts background. He's an ex-law enforcement officer, and he's a veteran. All of this background with him. So plus some different agency training that he's had along the way too. He's got a lot of skills already sitting there. We're going to teach him how to speak the RHINO language. There's not much that I'm going to teach him that he hasn't already seen or known or been through, but it's all on that school.com platform. Certification is all listed and written out, all the different modules. When it comes to strikes, you need to know this. Escapes, you need to know these. It's all written out, plus there's videos that support them. You have to know all the different facets. There's a vocabulary. Every industry has its own vocabulary, and there's no quicker way to find a poser than someone who doesn't speak the right vocabulary. Anyone who's in business knows that. So we want to make sure that even folks that haven't had the background that this new guy that just signed up has, people like Teresa, she doesn't have a background, but she's connected with people who do. We have lots of Leos on our staff. We have lots of veterans on our staff, and we talk with them regularly. We have one in Canada, a Leo in Canada, and a Leo in Miami. We're currently working on right now to create a better protection specialist package. So this is training that's better than a lot of Leos get in police academy. They leave with more than they had, and we're going to let them study that and give them the resources and the assets they need to study that for their certification. They're going to get certified online, virtually, with my trainer and me. We're going to make sure that they're doing the right things that they need to know how to do. And then once they're certified, that's when they start with their 90-day Smart Start. That's when they get all the remaining assets and all the different programs. And one membership authorizes them to teach all of the different programs. They can just pick and choose what it is that resonates with them. They don't necessarily have to. I don't know anyone that does them all, but you can just pick the ones you like. For me, for example, I'm really burnt out on working with children, so I would never teach a child's class. So I don't want to do it anymore. I'm a little older. My kids are all grown. I've been through that. I've trained children for 25 years, and I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm not going to offer that, but I will. My favorite is active shooter. I do that more than anything else. I like to teach that one the most. And I'll copy that or couple that with some basic hand-to-hand stuff. We need the basics. We don't teach 70 different ways to strike somebody or escape. We put together a very basic toolbox. And you can pretty much fix anything in your home with a basic toolbox. You got a hammer and a saw, a screwdriver and a ratchet set. You can pretty much get the basics done. If you want to be a little more specialized, well, then you're probably going to need some fancier tools than that. But for the average person walking down the street, they're looking for, how in the world, what do I do if someone accosts me at an ATM, tries to hustle me into a car, tries to invade my home? These are the things that we train for people who have no background. They have no interest in martial arts. They have they've never done it. They all want the skill set, but 98% of the adults in the world don't really want to have anything to do with martial arts. It's not what they're about. So they want to learn the skills, though they don't want to put on the funny pajamas and bow in and learn an extra language and all that stuff that you have to do. Now, I'm a 2%er. I love martial arts as an adult. I always have, but that's not the norm. That's the exception and not the rule. So we want to appeal to those people who'd still like to be safe, but they really don't want to get involved in the 3-year black belt program someplace. And then for our owners, we want people to just have that spark and that passion. I can teach you the rest of everything, but I can't teach you the passion part. Either you're born with that or you're not.
Awesome. So Teresa, over to you. I want to ask you, so now that you're an instructor and you're teaching this stuff, how do you know that what you've learned as an instructor and what you're passing on to your students, how do you test it to make sure it's successful?
Well, hopefully I never have to test it in real life, and neither do my students. But the one thing that I love about what we teach and what we train is that it's so easy for everyone to do. So it's easy for me to learn as an instructor, and it's easy for me to pass it on to the students to learn. And it kind of builds like a foundation. So, you learn some basic moves and they turn into these bigger, more elaborate moves that help you feel empowered and, confident and strong that, if something were to happen to you, you're going to be able to, successfully get away. But the most important thing, and how I know that what I'm teaching is effective, is that awareness is the key to self-defense. You've got to be aware in a situation. If you can avoid a situation altogether, you're automatically a winner. Mindset, being able to control your fear in that moment, because, a lot of times you're in a moment and it's scary and it can cause you to, be frozen or paralyzed by the fear. So being able to build that confidence in somebody else and, let them know, hey, it's going to be scary. Yeah, you're probably going to be terrified, but take a moment, take a breath, control your breathing and know that you have the skills to handle the situation. And then we teach, action versus reaction. If you can act faster than that person can think, you're going to give yourself the upper hand. You're going to get the advantage. So if somebody comes up to you and, grabs your shirt or something, and, if you can quickly give them like a pop to the nose, a palm heel strike right to the face, it may not be enough to physically harm somebody, but it's going to be enough to stun them so that you can run away and get away. So there's a lot of things that we teach that are just so simple and so basic, like Mark was saying, that basic toolbox that I know. That's why I feel very confident that I'm teaching the right things to the students and myself, that I feel confident that we will be able to handle ourselves in a situation.
I want to talk a little bit about the curriculum development piece, just because it's one of the things where if I look at like the progression over the last, 12 or 13 years ago when I took my NRA instructor courses and all that good stuff, the NRA had a clearly defined curriculum set for their instructors to use. And it was, you teach this is how you teach it. This is the PowerPoint. And you can't really deviate from that. And then the USCCA has kind of entered that space lately, or recently, not lately. And they have, it seems to be like more of a polished and a refined approach, but I don't think they really, I'm not sure what kind of business development support they have on it. And I'd imagine it's one of those things that it's challenging to kind of marry both of those roles, right? My brother, before he passed away, he had a couple of dental practices, right? A couple of dental offices, and he wasn't a dentist, but one of the things that he said is, great dentists typically aren't great businessmen, right? So that created an opportunity for somebody that understood the business side of that world to kind of come together and really help the firearms instructor, right? Kind of shifting it over to our world of things. How do you how do you balance and integrate the two, where it's providing business development support, but also developing curriculum that that kind of stands the test of the times that we're in? You know, Chris Bean asked a great question. He'd like to hear more about the de-escalation methodology and the techniques. And then he talks about Force Science Institute methods. And then what martial practices kind of are built within that curriculum. Is it a jiu-jitsu? Is it wrestling? So how does RHINO, I guess, integrate all of those worlds, right? The marketing, the curriculum, the firearm stuff. And I'll stop ranting and let you answer.
Good questions. Thank you. Well, first and foremost, you're talking about the medical industry and you know, having a great dentist, but they're not so great with business. That's true of just about every kind of talented professional there is, be it handgun, or you play a guitar better than anybody, or you're just a great instructor. But the business thing is what fails a lot of people. So that's my thing, is I want to give them a platform that's easy to follow but functional, so they can market, they can sell it, they can book their own stuff, they can, you know, billing with the medical industry is one of the biggest parts of that industry, is proper billing procedures, especially with insurance. I don't have to go quite to that degree, but you know, that's one of the things that you know, they're paying for with their membership fee, is the ability to learn how to do that. And as systems change, as things evolve, they get the upgrades to that. If there's more you know, that they need to know, or they're going in a different direction, or it's one thing to sell the concealed weapons program, it's a different thing entirely to do college safety or an active shooter or something like that. So it's important that they know that the difference is there. In the handgun concealed weapons program, we do the standard NRA certification program. We've just added some components to go with it. The, you know, things that they didn't teach when I got certified. They didn't teach me a thing about weapon retention, not one thing. And that's a big deal. And in my opinion, having 3 or 4 basic methods that you can hold on to your weapon, that's one of the most important parts of handling a weapon. Accessibility, deployability, retainability. Those are the big 3, you know. So that's what I wanted to work on with people. Also, if you don't have your gun or you lose your gun, having that hand-to-hand component, we didn't change anything on the NRA side. We just added RHINO components to go with it, you know, so they had a little more education, but we still went through how to clean it, how to store it. We're going to take you to the range and shoot with you. This is what you need to know about going to the range. This is the right stances. We went through snap caps like you cannot believe, to try and make sure that they could load and, you know, unload and get, oh, we've got a squib. What are you going to do? All of that. We went through the standard NRA format for handling a handgun, right? But we just added some more components to make it more well-rounded, just in case, because we didn't feel like just putting a bullet in it and charging it and firing it was enough. It just didn't. What's your takeaway from that? If you're brand new to it, and those are the people that we were teaching in classes, where, well, me and my girlfriends are going to come by and we're going to have a girls' day today, and we want to get our permits, you know. Okay, you know, but we don't have the hardcore tactical people. I meet one every once in a while, but not really in what we do. You know, someone who's like, you know, you guys that really, you do your training, and well, actually, Andy and I were talking about that before we started. It's like, you guys are phenomenal in what you do. The average person isn't like that, you know. So we want to reach out to the average person, and we want instructors who they're based in what we do, and it's easy for them to pick up this stuff, but they're the instructor, they're the leader, and they're teaching these people safety in some way, shape, or form. It's very important that people have the opportunity to learn what they're doing, not just say, well, I saw a YouTube on that, now I'm good to go. I mean, it takes some physical training to do that right. All right, so that's what we work on. The neat thing about working with our members is that a lot of them, now Teresa's the exception on this end, then we got the other end, like a Christopher Pedrick, who's done everything, right? And then there's everybody in between. All right, so it's nice to be able to work with their weaknesses and their strengths and to develop them into really well-rounded professionals in reality-based self-defense. It's great to watch. And when we're doing a presentation, when you're in front of a group of people, to watch the light go on and say, wow, I didn't know I could do that. But it was something simple. Anyone can do a palm heel strike. Anyone can gouge someone in the eye. Anyone can do these moves. And that's what they never knew. And that's the value of it, is that anyone can do it. We teach people about soft targets. What makes you a soft target? How does a criminal hunt? We talk about criminal intent, profiling. We talk about so many things that deal with knowing how knowing what the other team thinks. You know, if you're a football team, and you're playing another team next Sunday, I want as much film as I can get on the other team to know what it is that they do. Well, when I'm instructing people, I want to make sure that they know what a criminal is thinking. How does the other team think? So we want to make sure that they have that opportunity to learn, how does a criminal hunt? What makes you a soft target? The more things that you find on being on that list of being a soft target, you can layer those. So someone who's older, like me, I'm 61 years old. So I don't have all my hair. I have sometimes I have to wear a knee brace. I have glasses. These are all things in the eyes of a criminal that might put me on the soft target list. They're looking for the path of least resistance and the people that won't put up any sort of a fight. That's what they're looking for. That's a soft target. So we're going to teach you how to not be that soft target. And many of these seminars, the first people that I meet, the ones that get there a little bit early, are usually the older folks. And they're like, I don't know if I can deal with a lot of this physical stuff because my neck, my shoulder, my elbow, my wrist, my knee, there's always something wrong. And I said, you don't know it yet, but that's the kind of thing that puts you on the soft target list, right? Is that's what the criminal is looking for, someone who has these limitations. Also, one of the big things that we like is scenario-based training, where we actually put the people who are attending these seminars in segments where they're actually learning it. It's like going on the roller coaster, like cool roller coaster for the first time, you know, and you get to that picture kiosk at the end and you're like all scrunched up and you're scared to death. They got you. But by the second or third time you're doing this scenario, you're posing now. You got your shades on. You know, I know where the camera is. I know what to expect. Right? That's what this training is like. Scenario-based training. We're going to build you a part of your brain, so if you ever see this in real life, you'll have access to something that you won't go, I'm not a deer in the headlights. I've seen this before. I have something that I can do. And the more they practice, of course, the easier that comes. It's just a matter of practice. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to kick it back over to Teresa. I wanted to get one of the questions we like to ask our student guests is, what's the biggest obstacle that they had in that class? And I kind of want to kick it over the same, that same line of thinking. Teresa, what's been the biggest obstacle for you as a business owner trying to grow this thing?
For me, the biggest obstacle was just getting out of my own way. I told Mark a few times that I felt like at the beginning, I definitely had imposter syndrome. I knew the material, I was teaching it. I felt confident in teaching it, but it was still hard for me to get out of the mindset that I'm just a mom teaching self-defense. I have no business teaching this. So the hardest obstacle for me was just getting out of my own head and believing in myself and understanding that, I knew the material. I was good at teaching the material. I was doing good for my community and my neighbors. And I wasn't an imposter. I'm actually an expert in teaching this in my community. And so that was probably the biggest obstacle for me.
Mark, what do you find? Kind of kick that over to you. What do you find is there a common obstacle that that you're seeing from folks either in the RHINO business model or starting out as a firearms instructor that might lead them to seek out and some ongoing support that you offer?
Yes, absolutely. It happens all the time. Depending on where you come from when you come to RHINO. For example, let me give you some context. We have several martial arts instructors that add the RHINO curriculum to their suite of products. It's a great feeder program to martial arts because it brings people into a certain style of training that they weren't expecting and that they might want to continue on and go forward. So it's always been a great feeder to certain martial arts. But the problem that you face with the martial arts industry, which I was a part of for a long time, is you have the baggage that goes along with it. I've been teaching Taekwondo for 30 years, and I know this and I know that. I get that, but this is different. This is not what you're used to teaching. So this business has a very specific marketing mix behind it, and you have to learn what that is and how to set up the funnels correctly and how to do things right. And that's probably the biggest thing, Jeremy, is people try to fight the system, reinvent the wheel. No, we've made all those mistakes. We've already been through all that. Learn from our mistakes so you don't have to make them yourself. So if people follow, and the biggest thing for us is you have to get out into your community, right? So we give away a good amount of free seminars, right? We call those power demos, all right? So I'll work with a civic organization like the Rotary Club or Kiwanis or something like that, the local Chamber of Commerce, and I'll be a guest speaker, and I'll do a 20-minute presentation. It's like a greatest hits of RHINO. What is it we do? And we have to do that because we already know that for 98% of the population, they think we're Johnny Karate, and we're not. We have nothing to do with martial arts. It's all law enforcement, military, close combatives. It's all based out of that structure. There's a kick and a punch, but everything has that. So that's not unusual. We don't identify with any specific martial art. And I'll explain that if you're interested. But to continue this, we've got to show people, because in their mind, I don't care how many emails you send them, how many videos you post on your social media, they're not going to believe it until you physically go to them and show them. So you have what we call a power demo. If you do one a week and you change the minds of 5 people there in the span of a month, there's 20 new opportunities for you to maybe work with a school, a house of worship, a government building, a concert venue or sporting events arena, or any sort of business or corporation. So everyone in that group as a power demo is that civic organization is my target, because they all have spouses and children that go to the local schools, and they go to church or some type of a house of worship, and they go to the mall, they go to concert, they're everywhere that I want my programs to impact. So that's the easiest way to do it. Once we turn them onto it and we show them, well, Teresa will tell you that's when the phones really start ringing, is once you become committed to your community and you show them the difference. She got a really neat opportunity today. I hope she tells you about it. And the other part is martial arts is predominantly a sport. Okay, it has rule books, it has referees, it's for points. There's a lot of great things that you learn from martial arts. I am ranked in 6 different martial arts. I'm part of the USA Martial Arts Hall of Fame. I've done a lot of martial arts, but it doesn't translate so well into real world situations. All right, so If I want to do the perfect front leg front kick, well, I have to do everything you need to do to make it my kick. I have to shift my weight down, heel back, knee comes up, deliver the kick with the ball of the foot 10,000 times, switch, do it with the other leg, same each time, and then it becomes mine. I have muscle memory, kinesiology works its way, and it's my kick, all right? But in reality-based self-defense, you don't know when anything's going to happen, so you just have to move now. You don't have the time to think about it. There's a recipe that a criminal has over all of us, and there's nothing we can do about it except try and improve our odds. And it's called TAP. It's called timing, area, and process. TAP. All right? So the criminal always picks the time. They always pick where they're going to do it, the area, and they always pick what they're going to use to do it. We have no control over that. And I don't care what martial art you're part of, they don't teach that. Ever, right? So, and that's me after training in 6 different ones. I know they don't. I owned martial arts schools. I know they don't, right? So that's a major difference. People say, well, what about UFC? That's pretty brutal. Well, they still have months to watch tape on their next opponent. They have protection and referees and different things going on. Yeah, they get beat up, but they can do something that you can't do in real life, and that's tap out. There's no tapping out in reality. There's no stopping it until the threat has been stopped, and that's what we teach. That's how we do it. Scenario-based training, and put them through their paces and make it simple so anyone can consume it. It's not nothing in there that you go, whoa, I've never seen anything like that. There's nothing we'll teach you that you've never seen before. Seen all of it. But that's what makes it effective. It's simple, easy to remember, and easy to get that tool out of the toolbox and use it when you need to.
I want to kick it back over to the business development side, right? Because this is one of the things that, in the last 12 or 13 years that, and I see newer instructors, and I've helped some local instructors kind of hit the ground running, more on kind of like the bureaucracy side on that deal. But one of the things that I see firearms instructors struggling with the most is kind of student acquisition and marketing. And it's one of these things where, there's this kind of myth that you can't market, you can't use social media advertising. And, I've spent closer to probably $100,000 through, Facebook, Google, Instagram over the last decade or so, which sounds like a lot, but when you look at, that's probably $8,000 to $10,000 a year. That's not a huge sum of money. What type of, it sounds like it's kind of you're talking about this kind of hit the ground running with it during COVID. So over the last 4 years or so, how do you foresee yourself kind of, or what challenges do you foresee as RHINO continues to grow and you start to hit different markets in different states where it's going to be more of a diverse set of, does that make sense? Do you get where I'm going with that question? You know what I mean? So as, how do I phrase it? How do I want to put this up? Right. So I can talk to like Andy and guys in my local market. And I can say, hey, this has worked very well for me. And I could talk to a couple other instructors that are in different states and, talking about specifically about SEO and pay-per-click advertising and social media advertising and kind of a broad level strategy. Hey, we use social media, use Facebook to kind of create this reputation that you're the expert in your area, and it's kind of to build your brand. And then you want to use SEO to kind of reinforce that, and pay-per-click to capture leads when they're looking for you. And those things kind of all operate independently of one another, but they're part of your total marketing mix. But as that kind of grows, and as it's not just Andy and Teresa, but now it's 100 or 200 different folks, have you found a kind of like a formula approach that works well for your members, or is that something that is kind of an ongoing development and refining process?
Good question. What we do first and foremost is the owners pretty much work in their local markets, right? So they know their areas better than I do. I have a Florida public school education, and my geography is horrible. So I don't know how it all goes. But I don't. Teresa is from Gig Harbor, Washington. I haven't a clue where that is. I'm just horrible with that stuff. But she knows her area. What I want to do is teach her how to get out in front of people and do the first part of it, which is invest in your community. Do some co-op stuff with your community. There are businesses out there that you can do partnerships with. There's a lot that you can do right there at home. And she's next to Seattle, so that's going to be your bigger market. That's where I can teach her how to I say go fishing. We're going to go fishing for corporate stuff, corporate jobs. You can go online. We have a full protocol on how to go fishing and find corporate people to reach out to and talk to. There's networking groups in every city in America, right? Where you can go and find entrepreneurs. You can find people, business people who speak your language. They're like-minded people everywhere that you go. It's a matter of tapping into that, no matter where your region is. Self-defense, in general, is the same no matter where you are, no matter what industry you're in. Whether you're working in the medical world, in the hospital, or right now, emergency room, beatings and damage and stabbings and all. That's a big thing right now, where people will come in and try to harm the emergency room staff. Well, that's going on. I started working with that several years ago with Johns Hopkins Medical, and we had to build a specific program for them that had to meet certain standards and different wording. Now, if we're in some other country, say we're in Australia, where my VP of training is, words that we use in America don't resonate there at all. So we have to modify what we need to do to make it effective where he is. And every region is different. What I find effective here in the subtropics of Florida may not work in Michigan. It may not work in Seattle. So we have to find that and fine tune it and make it work for you. But it must be working, because I teach them. Well, Teresa, I'm going to have you tell them. Okay, so one of the things that I teach owners is how to connect with local media. Right? There's a plan that I created that really helps you connect with them, that deals with social media. Go ahead, tell them, Teresa.
You want me to give it all? Yeah, Mark showed us, gosh, what was it, last week? Probably
lots of times.
Yeah, it was like, we went over just how to connect with your local news stations, for example, and just going on, Facebook, sending them a quick little message, what exactly to say to them, how to connect it to things that are relevant. For me, I personally enjoy teaching children. And I know back to school season is in full gear right now. So I just reached out to our local news station, and I was like, hey, if you're ever planning to do like a back to school story, I would love to provide you some tips on self-defense, awareness, practical skills that kids can use and pretty much anyone can use, some abduction prevention techniques, things like that, and sent it along the way. And it wasn't 2 days later. Today was the day that I got a message back from them, and they're going to be coming and recording one of my classes this weekend and doing an interview with me for the local news. So that's the Seattle Tacoma News, which reaches like 4 million people. So it's huge exposure.
That happens a lot more than you would expect. It's one of the coolest things about the business side of this, is that a lot of people wouldn't even think of it. They don't know that. So I get the pleasure of showing them. I like to say that I'm driving the boat, and I get to keep it right down the middle of the channel and make sure everybody's got all the tools that they need, the tips and tricks, and all the things that they need to be successful. And if something isn't working, we'll analyze it, we'll troubleshoot it. But I make sure that they have everything that they need between social media, search engine optimizers, website, all the different things, and actually working live in your community and making those, since quarantine, people are just jonesing for the opportunity to work person to person again. And so even though we're sometime down the road, people still love that interaction part. So we make the most of that. And that's how you develop yourself as the expert in this topic, is that you're out there in your community, you're doing guest speaker events, you're interacting with different groups. And, after a while, word gets around, you do events, do a little social proof with a camera or a video, and you're off you go. It's an easy launch.
I also want to add really quick just with Mark and how the business side is run and how the support is for business owners like myself. Like I said, I started with no experience whatsoever, had no idea how to even run a business. And he talks about that 90-day kickstart plan. If you follow the plan, it really does work. I'm one of the few that have a brick and mortar. I wanted to have a brick and mortar location. So I went and got that. And within 3 weeks of starting with RHINO, I was already profitable. I made my $1,000 investment back. I made my deposit back on my location. I made my first and last month's rent back and, residual income within 3 weeks. So the plan is amazing. He's really a great businessman and gives you exactly what to do. It's very plug and play and kind of works in, I want to say it works in every situation because it worked brilliantly for me.
And you'll hear that story over and over again, when you're talking to successful RHINO owners. The biggest problem I faced, you'd asked me before, I don't know if I ever closed the loop for you, Jeremy, but the biggest thing that I have is someone will call me and say, I'm just not getting the traction that I thought I was going to get with this program. That happens. And so we'll troubleshoot, take a look at it. Now I'll ask them a couple of quick questions. I said, well, let's take a look at your website. Just as an example. Well, I don't have one up. I just have your logo and the postage stamp size logo in the bottom right of my big website for my school or my this or my that. All right. Well, people don't know you have this. We would like to have people have a dedicated presence, because that when you have multiple people on or multiple business offerings on a single website, it muddles up your branding. Your message is missing a lot of the time. So we recommend that you have a social media page, a Facebook page, just for RHINO. You have different. So let's look at your social media. Well, I don't have a page. Well, you don't have a website or a social media page. When was the last time you did a power demo? A what? Like they've never heard the phrase power demo. It's like a fundamental of what we do. Get the funnel started, and well, there's 3 strikes and you're out. If you're not doing the big 3, if you're not doing power demos, have your website up and have a social media presence, how do you expect that this program's ever going to do anything for you? I mean, we make it easy, but you still have to work the plan. If you work the plan works for you. So a lot of people come in and we were talking about 25 years worth of Taekwondo, and that's a whole different way of doing it. We're not saying what you're doing is wrong. It may work beautifully for that suite of products, but for this one, it's a very niche business, and it has a very specific technique to develop the business side of it. And it's ongoing, it's ever changing, and I love the challenge of keeping up with that. Just like my guy, the VP Glenn Stevens in Australia, who develops the actual curriculum. He's up for that. He loves that more than he's putting together more new things as we speak. We're working on new products all the time. So see a need, fill a need, and it's all, the neat thing is we work on 80-20 kind of a thing where 80% of what you teach is the same core. 20% is customizing for whatever demographic or industry you're in front of. So if you want to do something that is women specific. Well, you're going to do 80% is the same training. 20% is issues that are important to adult women. If you want to do it with kids, if you want to do it with industry, real estate, we have a great real estate safety program, but it's 80% the same core training, 20% how to make things safer on the job for real estate agents. It's simple, but no one thought of that. No, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know that was the thing. So we want to make the world safer, and it's an easy way to do this with plug and play techniques that people can use and scenario based training, so it locks it in. And we try to make it fun too. I mean, we take some pretty heavy topics, like active shooter can be pretty tricky, and it's just really nice to be able to work with people and show them, it's not, you take the scary part out of it. You don't have to have scary training to go with the scary topic. You can still have a smile on your face and have a good time, but still learn what your options are, when it comes to a potentially deadly situation. Still train a certain way. You don't have to be all scowls and scared all the time.
You mentioned earlier, and I wanted to kick it over to, I'm going to start with you this time, Mark, and I want to get kind of Teresa's perspective on as well. How does RHINO measure the program participants' success, and what does that look like?
Well, really, that often depends on the people we're doing the work for. Like if I did a lot of work for the city of Milwaukee, they would actually train their city employees, whether they're outside, inside, no matter what their department was. We had more of a generic style protection plan. Then we would be able to create things for specific departments, depending on if they're, are you a trash collector? Are you working in an office somewhere? So we had different protocols, but they would actually send out questionnaires to their people. How did you like this training? Several, like a survey, and they would report those in to me. So if people are interested in that, we can help with that. If companies want to do that on their own and they want to share that with us, that's fine too. It's really nice to get the feedback, because we love what we do and we love the platform in which we deliver it. However, if we don't know something isn't working or it isn't quite, we need to tweak this or massage that, we don't know it, how can we fix it? So it's nice to have that feedback. We're really big on customer feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to second that, I after every class, I do an anonymous feedback form as well. I make sure they don't put their names or any identifiable information on it. And I ask them, what was their favorite part of the class? What did they find was successful? What do they wish they would have learned? Or, what did they not like about the class? To continually grow and develop my teaching skills and my course, to make sure that I'm hitting all those marks. And typically the feedback, I do a lot with women and children. And typically my feedback is that the women feel more empowered. They feel like they can go, walk and not feel like they have to be paranoid or living in fear. Or some of them are, past victims, and they feel like they can close that chapter of their life. And I think those are huge. Those are monumental markers in how the curriculum is doing the feedback.
Mark, I know you're about an hour ahead of us, or a couple hours ahead of us. My old stomping grounds, Florida. Teresa, you said you're a brick and mortar. What's the name of your business? Where can folks find you?
I am based out of Gig Harbor, Washington. Gig Harbor Self-Defense. And literally I'm just right downtown, a tiny little Gig Harbor, but I also do travel and train. So if anybody's in the Washington area, the Oregon area, I'm happy to travel and train there, or anywhere that's warm, not rainy, palm trees, wink, wink. I will happily go as well. But I will go anywhere, but mostly based out of Gig Harbor, Washington, right downtown.
Awesome. And Mark, before we give you the rest of your evening back, is there anything that we should have talked about that we didn't touch on? I know it's the laziest question in podcasting history, but we usually get some good info.
No, we covered pretty much all of it. It's nice to know that there's a company out there that wants to see people succeed. We're not the sort of company to just take your money and say, thanks for the money, and then you never hear from them again. Or we don't have any sort of a mythical, well, your basic buy-in gives you this much of the program, but if you add more money, you get to the middle of it, and if you add more, so before you know it, you've put in all this money, and everyone starts with everything. Everyone has the same program from the get-go. There's no differentiating, and everyone has access to training and upgrades and the corporate office. We don't leave anyone hanging. It's really, we want everyone to have the opportunity to be successful. I don't have a job if these people aren't successful, so it's really nice to be able to help them get to where they want to go. And my goal for everybody is to show them how they can make a decent living and not spend 80 to 100 hours a week just to get by. I'd rather see you spend part-time hours making a full-time income kind of a thing. And the way that we have it structured, that's kind of what's going on. So we just want to know that everyone to have a look at our opportunity, and we'd love to have you come on board the team.
Just want to add on there too that it's a great team. The team is awesome. So you not only are working, part-time hours, making a full-time income or whatever, or however your words were there, Mark, but you have a great connection, a great group of people that you're working with. And, if you enjoy doing this material, if you enjoy teaching this, the job is so rewarding. You walk out of class every time just feeling like so good for the good that you're doing to your community. So
yeah, it's a rush, that's for sure. But we just want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to not slave. I don't know how many people tell me, I'm just tired of the rat race. I want to do my own thing. I'm not really quite sure how to go. I have a martial arts background, or I'm a veteran, or I have something that leads me to my passion. Or we just have people like Teresa that she's really the anomaly, though. She doesn't have any background. It just goes to show you how someone with none of that can be successful right out the gate. And that's what I really like, is that, Teresa, would you say we've changed your life?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's mind-blowing to think where I'm at in 8 short months from when I started in January, and to think about a year from now in the future and what that's going to look like. I don't even have words. I don't have the words. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And that's a great testament, right? That's one of the things that I know fires Andy up and fires me up. And, doing this a couple weekends a month, every month. And, there are weekends getting ready for class. And I'm like, I want to do it. I want to call it in today. And then you get out there on the range with somebody, and they're like, after class, they pull you aside, or they're over there giving Andy a big old hug, and then they're in tears because they've got that empowerment back and they feel like they can protect themselves. And you're like, all right, cool. That's going to get me through to the next few months. So that's awesome. I really appreciate you guys joining us this evening. Check it out, RHINOTacticalDefense.com. And that's what it is. I usually kick this over to Andy, but I'm going to steal it from the night. I don't think I stole any questions from him, so I'll steal his outro. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, y'all. Really do appreciate you having us on, giving us your time. For our listeners and viewers out there, thank you so much for sharing the evening with us. Remember, it's your life. It's your safety and protection. It's your responsibility. Y'all stay safe, and we'll see you next time.